This is a special report from ABC News Digital.
I'm Dan Pfeffer in New York with this ABC News Digital special report. More drama today for George Zimmerman, making another headline in the weeks after his acquittal for the shooting death of Trayvon Martin. Zimmerman is being detained by police after a domestic dispute with his wife and his father-in-law. ABC's Aaron Katersky, who has covered the Zimmerman trial, is watching these developments and joins us now with more. So, Aaron, what can you tell us? What do we know about his detention?
Oh, only that he's being detained by police in Lake Mary, Florida, at a residence of a relative, and it's where police are investigating some kind of potential domestic battery involving his estranged wife, Shelley Zimmerman, who has told ABC News that she filed for divorce. You remember her interview that she did with us, in which she said that she didn't know him anymore. Now, according to her attorney, Shelley Zimmerman says that George Zimmerman made some kind of a threat against her and her father, and it may have involved a gun. Police in Lake Mary tell us, Dan, that a gun was found at the scene in Lake Mary where George Zimmerman is being detained. They're now trying to determine if it was actually used in any way.
And do we know about the actual living situation? Are they still living in the same home together?
I don't know their domestic arrangements. They had been living during his trial when he was acquitted of murdering Trayvon Martin in a rather extensive home, a rather nice home near the Seminole County Jail, and that's where they spent their residence. In fact, the Orlando Sentinel had reported it was a $240,000 house that was owned by a friend of the couple. That's where they lived through trial. But Shelley Zimmerman has filed for divorce and no longer wants to be part of his life. I'm not sure that they're still living together.
And we're just now looking at some live pictures, some aerial shots of Lake Mary, Florida, where we have been seeing that George Zimmerman has been detained by police and they are investigating. And of course, we are trying to gather more information on this about the potential for any weapons that may have been found there. Aaron, I wanted to ask you a little bit about what Zimmerman has happened to him in the weeks following his acquittal back in July.
Well, he's had some hard times staying away from law enforcement, that's for sure. There was that initial story that he had helped out at the scene of a car wreck and pulled a man and his family from a burning car. But then there were a couple of speeding stops, and one that resulted in a ticket in Lake Mary, Florida, which is right next to Sanford, where the killing of Trayvon Martin took place. And in his most recent stop, that's when he was ticketed $256 for going 60 in a 45-mile-per-hour zone. Before that, he had been stopped in Florida. He'd also been stopped in Texas. And now comes his detention on suspicion of domestic battery involving his estranged wife, Shelley Zimmerman. But again, he has not been arrested, only detained at the scene as police try to sort out exactly what, if anything, actually happened. Right,
and of course the details just now starting to come out of Lake Mary, Florida, as we've been watching some live pictures on the right side of your screen there, as police have responded to the suspicion, Aaron, as we are pointing out very carefully the possibility of a domestic dispute at the home of his estranged wife, Shelley, and her father. And at this point, after his acquittal, has he been under any kind of special watch or under any kind of police protection once that verdict was read?
No, he's a free man, and he is free from all of his obligations. The Caltech 9mm gun was to be returned to him. All of his belongings that had been taken from him were to be returned, and he was under no obligations according to local law enforcement. But he, as we've been saying, Dan, he's had a little bit of trouble staying out of the limelight. He said he wanted to take a cross-country trip, clear his head, get away. That's when he was stopped for speeding in Texas. Since he has come back, driving the same car, the same truck that he was in the night he first encountered Trayvon Martin. He has been ticketed for speeding. Now he's involved in this alleged domestic incident. Now the question is whether this could actually get him, if he is arrested, any more jail time. I mean, who knows? We're a long ways from that, but he has been trying to get on with his life, along with having a bit of trouble staying away from police.
Yeah, and as we can see there, as the police are moving in and out of that residential neighborhood there that's sort of overshadowed by trees, you're not really able to get a good clear look at the house, or that area anyway, where George Zimmerman has been detained. But Shelley Zimmerman, as you pointed out, Aaron, in that exclusive interview with ABC News, had provided some information about the dynamics of their marriage, and she characterizing her husband as a very selfish man. In fact, she claims that she, as you pointed out, doesn't believe that she ever really knew him at all, and that at times she said that he was verbally abusive and that he hurt her emotionally but never physically. But clearly he is someone that certainly any kind of news or any kind of headline that may come out with his name on it, of course, certainly grabs the attention not only of police but of course of the media as well, after she had filed for divorce. Do we know where it's at as far as the proceedings once she filed that intention?
I'm not sure where things stood, because it had only recently been filed. And Shelley Zimmerman, remember, Dan, was not at home the night that her estranged husband now first encountered Trayvon Martin, and there was some question as to where she was, what the state of their relationship was at that point. She stuck with him through the trial. She appeared in court. The couple had received threats. It may have brought them a bit closer together, but after his acquittal, that's when things once again began to deteriorate, and Shelley Zimmerman told us about her intentions to file for divorce, and we've since seen some of that paperwork. Today, Shelley Zimmerman's attorney says that George Zimmerman made threats against her and her father, and now he has been detained on scene. And according to the attorney, Shelley Zimmerman's attorney, there was a gun used, there was a knife used, a gun was found in that home. Police are now trying to determine in what way, if any, it was used in this alleged incident of domestic battery.
Aaron, and I'm just going to ask you, I possibly put you on the spot here, but because I know that this situation is still very fluid, and we can see some activity that's going on these live shots at Lake Mary, Florida. It's difficult to make out who may be leaving this scene there where George Zimmerman is reportedly being detained by police. But Aaron, you had said that the attorney for Shelley Zimmerman, his estranged wife, had first brought this to light. Was there any calls to 911? Were police tipped off in any other way? Is that information even out there?
No, not that we know of. When we spoke to Lake Mary Police, we were told that police were simply called to the home. They found George Zimmerman there, and that's where he has been detained on scene as they try to ascertain what happened and then whether they need to formally arrest him. You know, it seems like they're still trying to figure out exactly what went on. But the initial call was for suspected domestic battery involving Shelley Zimmerman and perhaps her father as well. But what, if anything, actually happened at that home, police are still trying to sort out, and only then would it be possible for George Zimmerman to be brought up on any charges. But as you've seen from the pictures, there's still a lot of activity at that house, and when we spoke to police moments ago, they said they were still a ways from making any determination.
And if you are just joining us, we're looking at a live picture of Lake Mary, Florida, where George Zimmerman is reportedly been detained by police after reports of a suspected domestic incident involving his estranged wife and her father. George Zimmerman, of course, acquitted of the murder of 17-year-old Trayvon Martin, that acquittal coming down in July, and of course raising the attention across the country. And now, as they are waiting to find out exactly what the nature of this detention might be, Shelley Zimmerman's attorneys saying, in fact, that there was a domestic incident involving a weapon that might have been found at the home. But of course, the situation is still very early on as police are responding to this home in Lake Mary, Florida. ABC's Aaron Katersky following the very latest on this story. Aaron, thank you for that. Of course, we will be monitoring the situation and have live updates for you as they warrant. A complete report on abcnews.com. For now, I'm Dan Kleffler in New York with this ABC News Digital Special Report.
This has been a special report from ABC News Digital.